One new national poll showing Donald Trump certainly has his work cut out for him. He is trailing Hillary Clinton now by 10 points. Quinnipiac has Clinton with 51% voter support. That also happens to be the first time, by the way, she's cracked the 50% mark. Trump trails her with 41%. And the Real Clear Politics average of all polls has Mrs. Clinton leading nationally by 6 points, nearly 48% for Clinton, just about 42% for Donald Trump. Brian Joyce joins us, radio talk show host of The Brian Joyce Show. And Evan Siegfried joins us, Republican strategist, former press assistant to Rudy Giuliani's presidential campaign, author of the book GOP GPS. Well, so much for initials. Brian, the poll's assistant director said this: "We are starting to hear the faint rumblings of a Clinton landslide." Is that what these latest numbers portend?
Look, I had been saying a long time ago I thought this would be the biggest landslide since Ronald Reagan in 1984. I don't know if I would go that far, but Donald Trump is going to lose big in November. And unfortunately, Republicans, they have nobody to blame for this but themselves. I think they had plenty of good candidates in that primary, including John Kasich, including Marco Rubio, Chris Christie. These are all candidates who could have given Hillary a pretty good race. Unfortunately, they went with a fatally flawed candidate. This is the worst candidate in the history of modern-day American politics, and he's not going to recover.
Yeah. You know, Evan, we dig a little bit deeper,
anybody to blame but themselves.
Evan, we dig deeper into these Quinnipiac polls for the reason why Trump is now losing by 10 points. We'll put it up on the screen. It's because his negatives have increased. Now more than half of voters have a strongly unfavorable view of Trump, and Clinton's net favorability went in the opposite direction. She went up. So, you know, in trying to figure that out, a plurality of every demographic group felt that Trump's rhetoric appeals to bigotry. Is that the reason for these numbers?
That's part of it. In this Quinnipiac poll, 59% of all the respondents thought that Donald Trump was a bigot, and 36% said he wasn't. If you're a presidential candidate, that's a massive problem. Now, if you look at Donald Trump's supports in all the key communities you need to win, women, African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, it's not there. He's polling lower than George Wallace and Barry Goldwater among African Americans right now. And George Wallace was a segregationist, and Barry Goldwater voted against the Civil Rights Act. Yeah, this is a disaster for the Republican Party.
2%, depending upon your poll. Brian, what also stands out as we were looking into these polls is that Clinton's support among Republicans has doubled. And is that because of Trump's rhetoric or something else?
I think it's a combination of two things. Number one, we have a two-party system, so you only have two realistic choices. But number two, I think it's simply because Donald Trump is just that much worse. And, you know, I'm really getting tired of the excuses from the Trump campaign. He blames the corrupt media. I would point out the media, including this network, has been hammering Hillary for 2 years every day on emails, on Benghazi, on the Clinton Foundation. It's not sticking because Donald Trump is that much worse. And he can blame the corrupt system if he wants to, but the corrupt system did not stop Ronald Reagan from winning 500 electoral votes in 1984. He's just a bad candidate.
Evan, by gender, it's really noticeable now. Clinton leads with women. It increased by 7 points among women. Trump's lead among men has correspondingly dropped by 7%. How does he turn this around?
Well, at this point, Donald Trump is going to have to actually apologize for everything he said, and he needs to apologize specifically. Additionally, if he wants to get serious about reaching out to the African-American community, he should stop doing rallies in predominantly white sectors and actually go into the African-American community and sit down around a kitchen table with an African-American family that's struggling to pay its bills and just say, listen, I'm here to listen, and I want to know how I can help. And what they have to tell him, then he can base his policies around that. That would be far more effective than what he's doing. You saw it on Wednesday night in Mississippi when he accused Hillary of being a bigot. You saw the reaction on the face of the woman right behind him. It was a visceral reaction. Right after that, yesterday, we saw Hillary Clinton come out and deliver not a spin-based speech about what Donald Trump has said, but a fact-based speech. She has not needed to spin anything he said.
And some people say that's not presidential. These polls show that Trump is not seen as presidential by huge margins. Clinton leads on experience, level-headedness, being qualified, notwithstanding that 2/3 of Americans think she's dishonest. We'll leave it at that. Brian, Evan, good to see you both. Thanks.
Thank you, Greg.